Morning team. This is the fourth session for ISO 27001. We will start from A8 Technological Controls 34 are in numbers. Let's begin the session from 8.1. Uh, just I want to inform you these are the sessions which we are discussing right now. We have a different session for interview questions after this ISO completion. So stay in touch. In between, if you have any queries or you want to join the session one on one, you can email us or you can do your comment as well. So, 8.1.1 talks about the user endpoint devices, where the objective is, whatever are the laptops, desktop, tablet, smartphones, and other portable devices employees are using, how to protect them. uh, why protection is required? Just to avoid from loss, theft, unauthorized access, or from the compromised estates. What are the control requirements? The controls requirements are every organization must implement security measures for all endpoint devices used to process, access, or store organizational informations, regardless of whether the devices are company owned, personally owned, or remotely managed. We can protect our assets on the basis of antivirus, DLP, or whatever are the technological controls we have in organization. That's why these controls protection of endpoint devices comes under technological controls. Let me just write down here, how can we protect our endpoint devices. Controls used to protect endpoint devices. What are these devices? These devices may be your laptops, desktops, right? Your drives, like pen drives, etc. These endpoint devices should be should be provided by the organization. Okay, guys, maybe spelling may be wrong, so provided by organization. Ignore the accuracy of spelling, please. Um, to protect these devices, right, we need to ensure that our antivirus, our DLPs, right, uh, all all patches, for example, right, VPN connections, etc., are installed properly on these assets. These are the simple highlighted technological terms which I had written here. Otherwise, a lot of controls are there which we need to install to protect the endpoint devices, which we discussed in interview preparations later on. Next is A.8.2 talks about the privileged access rights. This control talks about the privileged access, such as administrator, such as root, such as super user accounts, are assigned, controlled, and monitored to minimize security risk like unauthorized access, privilege abuse, or accidental system damages. Every organization to implement a strict management of privileged accounts and rights through the following measures: authorization and approvals. Grant privilege access only a need to have basis with the normal approval from the management, and maintain a centralized list of privileged accounts and their owners. Role segregations. Segregate administrative accounts from standard users accounts to minimize the risk. Separate duties between system administrator, developers, and auditors to prevent conflict of interest. Role segregation. Role segregation, we can also state that RBAC means role based access. Whatever are the roles you are hired to work in the organization, your role should be as per that particular, as per your skills. If, for example, you are a GRC guy and you have access on Archer, as you know, in Archer, that multiple features are available. For example, TPRM also, for example, SOX also, ISO 27001 also, and all the policies related. If your skills belongs to TPRM, then only TPRM related least privileges to provide, not for SOX, ISO, and all the policies, whatever you are having. Okay, secure authentication talks about the strong authentication, example, multi-factor authentication, hardware tokens, or smart cards for our privileged accounts. Ensure default passwords are changed immediately on any privileged account. Monitoring and logging. Log and monitor all privileged account activities. Use privileged access management PAM tools for session recordings, command logging, and real-time alerts. Regular reviews of logs and direct anomalies or misuses. We can monitor the logs and vigilance with the help of PAM also, which is privileged accesses management, or CyberArk. I'm just writing here that what are the monitoring logging rules. Number one comes under the SIM. Under SIM, we can have ArcSight or QRadar, for example. Okay, and we can also record the session with the help of PAM. PAM is a sub components of the CyberArk. Uh, After this, right, periodic review of the access rights. You need to conduct regular quarterly access reviews to validate necessity and removal unused privileges, document all reviews and approvals for audit purposes. Emergency access procedures. Establish a break glass procedures for emergency access. Okay, what is break glass? A break glass is a super protected password. I'm just writing down here, Blake class. Okay, this is a protected administrator account, and to use in case of disaster, or if admin account not working. In that case, we have a break glass account. Okay, this is a super admin account. I'm just modifying here. This is a super administrator account, and to use in case of disaster or admin account not working. Revocation and deprovisioning. Immediately revoke privileges when employees changes roles, terminate employees, or no longer need elevated accesses. Information access restrictions. What are the informations need to protect by restricted the access to ensure that access to information and information systems is restricted based on the business and security requirements. Protected data from unauthorized access, disclosure, modifications, or destructions. Control requirements. Organizations must establish, enforce, and monitor access restrictions for information system based on the principle of privilege and need to know. For this, you need to define the policies, document and access control policies, which covers role-based access, attributes-based access, and after this, what are the workflows of approval for granting or modifying accesses, and periodic reviews to ensure alignment with job functions. These two role-based access are the most common used for access control. In interview, this question is very frequent, that what are the mandatory access in access control you will provide to your employees. So least privileges and role-based access. Access control mechanism restrict access to database applications, network resources, and file based on the basis of user roles, department function, and sensitive level of data. Apart from this, multi-factor authentication for all the critical systems to be implemented properly and reviewed on time, segregated access of development, testing, and production environments. Again, monitoring and reinforcement. Monitor logs to detect unauthorized attempts or suspicious activity. Use automated tools to enforce policies such as identity and access management, DLP, which is data loss prevention, and security information and event management, which we talked about in this notepad, this part. And again, periodic review and validation is required. You need to conduct regular accesses reviews at least quarterly with business owners. Also, revoke or modify access immediately when role changes or employment ends. Documentations and the trainings part. You need to maintain a record of accesses, request approvals, and reviews. Train staff on proper handling and classification of information. um, for maintaining trainings, right, employees awareness and training sessions are required, because if employees are not knowing that when to raise incidents or how to provide the accesses, then uh, there is no need to spend a lot of money on the organization. So who is the actor here? Employees are the actor and technology are the actors, because somewhere automations are there. So you need to upgrade your technology as per the market risk, as per the vulnerabilities, and your employees should aware and train, for which you need to conduct regular sessions to have this. Access to sources code. Sources code is generally required when SDLC process is there. Means any applications or some software need to develop. So access to source code is strictly controlled and monitored to protect intellectual property, maintain software integrity, and prevent unauthorized changes, leaks, or malicious activities. What are the control requirements? Organizations must implement strict security and governance measures for source code, regardless of whether it is stored on-prem in version control systems, VCS like a GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, or third parties repositories. Source code is directly related with the SDLC's part. SDLC is the software, I'm just writing down here, software development life cycle. Okay. Uh, to develop the software, you uh, need to follow the complete change management process, right? Approval workflows and regular reviews. And to have this, first you need to prepare this at least a change management policies. Okay. Secure authentication. Under secure authentication, mechanism for systems and services are securely implemented and managed, reducing the risk of unauthorized access, account promising, or credential have. So, under secure authentication, right? What are the user ID, password, and the critical unique codes which you are using that should be prevented in a proper safe areas or safe applications. Organization must enforce secure authentication practices across all systems and environments that process and store sensitive informations. 8.6 talks about the capacity management. Under capacity, applications and infrastructure are monitored and managed for capacity and performance, reducing risks such as system outages, slows down, or security issues caused by the resources, limitations, and unexpected demand. Organization have to plan, monitor, and review the capacity and performance of IT systems to meet current and future business requirements while maintaining securities and availability. I'm just explaining the capacity management one more time. Uh, Capacity means, right, according to your probable loads, right? What is the consumption and data generation average you need to be ready for the configuration so that your servers and networks should handle or cater the request. I'm just giving an example. Your organization is producing at least 1000 TB data per day. Okay. And you have multiple servers, multiple networks you have, right? If I talk about the servers, then your server having a normal uh, per minute traffic around 1000. At least you need to make the buffer catering of traffic around 1500 at least, so that in any worst scenarios, right, in any worst scenarios, if your traffic increases during the peak time, then your server is able to handle. But also you need to ensure that after 1000, post 1500, right, you need to make a threshold, you need to make a threshold or cutoff. If 1000, if if 1501 traffic uh, generates, right, then this additional one request catered by backup node. Why we are doing here? We are doing here to prevent our servers from the denial of services attacks and distributed denial of services attacks. That's why the capacity management is required. So you need to plan, monitor, and review the capacity and performance of IT systems to meet current and future business requirements while maintaining securities and availabilities. How to protect uh, these assets, your organization, from the malware. So to protect systems, networks, data from malware, malware threats such as virus, ransomware, swarms, spyware, and trojans, minimizing risk of data breaches, services disruption, or financial loss. Organization must implement preventive, detective, and corrective controls to protect information systems from malware and related malicious software threats. You need to update your patches. You need to close all the vulnerabilities on time to avoid your organization from the malware or external threats. Technical vulnerabilities. How to manage the technical vulnerabilities? To identify, assess, prioritize, and remedy technical vulnerabilities in systems, applications, and devices in a timely and consistent manner to reduce the risk of exploitations. Let me just figure out what is the difference between vulnerabilities and penetration testings. I have received a comments that could you please explain the difference between vulnerabilities and penetrating testing? So vulnerabilities are the findings of gaps or risk in organization. Okay, we can identify the risk in servers, networks, right? Or we can say with the help of the risk registers, and we can also take the help of annual incidents happening. Okay, we can scan we can scan all these servers, these networks, okay, with the help of our scanning applications. We have, for example, Nessus, we have rapid, etc. We have multiple applications to scan the infrastructure vulnerabilities. These, vulnerabilities of servers and networks are generally called as the infrastructure vulnerabilities. And on the other hand, we have we have we have penetrating. So, this is the study of attacks, we can say, a study of attacks and how to exploit internally, internally before actual incidents happens. So, for a penetrating tester guy, right? They need to think exactly same as the hacker. Okay, and we generally follow the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. What are these? The these are the top 10 vulnerabilities which are very which have very high market risk. Example, we have SQL injections. Example, we have Log4j, etc. Like this, we have the top 10 vulnerabilities. So this is the difference between vulnerabilities and penetrating testing. We will discuss more details in interview questions later on. So what are the key requirements? Vulnerabilities identifications, continuously gather informations about new vulnerabilities from trusted sources like NVD, CISO vendor advisories, and threat intelligence feeds. Use automated vulnerabilities scanning tools for internal and external systems. Um, Evaluate the severities and exploitability of vulnerabilities by using the CVSS scores. uh, Assess business impact to determine remediations priority, remediations and mitigations, apply security patches or updates promptly according to a defined patch management policies, implement workarounds or compensating controls if immediately patch is not possible. For testing and validations part, you need to test patches in a controlled environment before deployment to avoid production issues. Validate successful remediations through rescans or audits, monitoring and reportings. In this section, we need to maintain a vulnerabilities risk register with remediation status and responsible owners. Regular report vulnerabilities matrices to management and risk owners. Under integration with the change management, you need to ensure that patching or configuration changes following formal change management procedures aligned with 8.8.9 configuration managements. Under the configuration management, or organization to establish, implement, and maintain secure configuration of systems, applications, networks to ensure consistent security and reduce risk caused by unauthorized or untested changes. For this, you need to establish a configuration baselines, for where you need to define the secure standard configuration for server workstations, applications, network devices, and cl- cloud platforms. Base configuration on industry standards such as CIS benchmark or NIST guidelines. Change control processes ensure that any change to configurations flow and authorize change management processes. Document the purpose, risk assessment, testing, and approvals before applying the changes. Again, monitoring and version controls. At least periodically review configurations to ensure they align with vulnerability management. It is mentioned in 8.8.a and security policies. Regularly patch and update to maintain secure configurations. Auditing and compliances. Conduct periodic audits of configurations to ensure adherence to the approved guidelines. Use automated compliance monitoring tools where possible, and incident handling is the most important part. Organization to establish rollback and recovery procedures if configuration changes created security issues or outages. Information deletions, organization that every organization to ensure at least the information is securely and permanently deleted from systems, storage, and devices whenever no longer needed, reducing the risk of unauthorized access, disclosure, or data breaches in case of the vendors, because vendor are the one who consume our data, who have access, process, or transmitting our data. That's why information deletions from the vendor is mandatory. Also, if vendor has confirmed that your data has been erased, then you need to conduct the third party audit and collect the destruction certificate from vendor and assurance from third party. This is how you can tackle the information deletions. For information deletions, you must have a policies and procedures where establish document procedures for secure deletion of digital informations, define a triggers for a deletion such as retention schedules, contract terminations, or legal requirements. Example: GDPR, HIPAA, TSX. For secure deletion methods, we have multiple ones. Use method appropriate for the storage medium, overwriting or cryptographic erasure for hard drives and SSDs. Factory reset with verification for mobile devices. Factory reset means what? Factory reset means this is a completely completely flushing of data when employees resign, terminate, or transferred from the organization to their subsidiaries. Certified wiping tools for servers and laptops. Physical destructions, shreddings, and degaussing when reuse is not possible. Automatic and logging part. For this, organization to automate deletion process where possible, especially for cloud platforms and databases, maintain logs and evidences for deletion for audit and compliances purposes. Third party service providers, we already discussed third party a bit, and we have a different process for TPRM which we will discuss later on, but here uh, we are discussing only our outline. Every vendors follow the same secure deletion standards, obtain certificate of destructions when using external disposal services. For periodic review, at least in a quarter, all the systems and repositories to identify eligible for deletions, verify compliances during audits or risk assessments parts. Data masking 8.11, the this is a new uh, control added in this latest ISO 01. Data masking is states that how organization to protect sensitive data like personal identifiable informations, PII, financial data, or any other confidential information by masking or anonymizing it, ensuring only the required portion of the data is exposed for a specific purpose only with for a certain time. Key requirements, policies, and governance define which data requires masking, such as PII, payment details, or health data. Establish establish clear procedures for when and how masking should be applied. Under masking tech and techniques, we have SDM, we have DDM. SDM is a static data masking for non-production environment like testing or trainings, but in dynamic data masking for real-time masking in applications or databases. Tokenization or anonymization for a long-term irreversible masking. Access control integrations, we have combined masking with role-based access control, so only authorized personnel see unmasked data. Apply least privileges principle across all the systems. Again, logging and monitoring these under this control, organization to record access attempts and masking activities for compliance and auditability. Use monitoring tools to detect unauthorized access or misuses. For testing and validations, organization to test masking implementations to ensure that no data is exposed in real world, and validate against data protection regulations like GDPR or CCPA. Data leakage preventions. How to prevent your data from the leakages. Organization to detect, prevent, and respond to unauthorized disclosures, transfer, or loss of sensitive data, whether accidentally or intentionally, across all communication channels and storage locations. uh, f- to identify this, data classification and scopes are the main important part, where identify and classify sensitive information such as PII, intellectual property, financial records, or trade secrets. Define where data resides, endpoints, servers, cloud emails, and network traffic. Implement DLP technologies, right? Organization to deploy DLP tools to monitor and control endpoint channels, USB drives, printers, local storages, network traffic, emails, web uploads, cloud sharing, and cloud environment cache and SaaS platform. Use content inspections and context-based detections, keywords, rejection, and file types. Uh, A.A.13 informations backup. Under informations backups, you know um how you taking the how are you managing your availability nodes. So backup, generally we need to take the backup, from the data perspective. Organization to create, protect, and periodically test backup of information, software, and systems configurations to ensure recovery and business continuity in case of incident like systems failure, cyber attacks, and accidentally deletions. Backup. I have one question. Does disaster recovery, or disaster site is a part of backup? Does disaster recovery or disaster site is a part of backup? Okay, make your comments. Just making the spelling correct here. We have business continuity and a planning. So the question is, we generally prepare for disaster recovery or disaster sites. So does this backup does this business continuity plan is a part of backup or not? This is a question. um okay. Backup policies and plannings. Define and document backup policies aligned with business needs and regulatory requirements. Specific backup frequency, retentions period, and recovery objectives, RPO and RTOs. You need to discover the scope of the backups. Includes business criticality data, configurations, files, and system settings, and databases and applications data, cloud and SaaS backup if applicable. Backup protections. Store backups in secure and in protected locations, ideally offsite or in the cloud. Ensure backups are encrypted in transit, and the rest part, this point is very important. Restrict access based on the privilege of on the basis of least privilege, important. uh, Testing and validations part. Organization to perform regular restoration tests to ensure backups can be successfully recovered. uh, Document test results and remediate any issues found, and monitoring and the logging. This is a common point for all the controls, that how are you monitoring and having a vigilance. So monitor backup jobs for completion and integrities part. You need to align the backup strategies with business continuity plans and a disaster recovery pl- plans. Update backups backup procedures during systems or application changes, and redundancy of the information processing facilities we will cover in the next session. So this is the session for today's, I believe. If you have any queries, any concerns, you can raise your point in the comment box, or if you require the GRC trainings, which includes the ISO 27001, SOC 2, TPRM part, NIST, GDPR, PCI. Okay, you can email me on rajveersingaug@gmail.com, or you can also do the comments. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.